Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, I want to share something crazy that happened to me over the last 24 hours. Actually the worst experience of my life. And I'm not using hyperbole. I'm being completely serious. It's the worst, most horrific thing that I've experienced to date in my life. And then I want to share something that Israel 365 sent to me. You guys know that I'm, basically partnered with them on a few different things. I'm promoting some charities for them. One for a man that was killed and left behind a wife and 3 children as a result of terrorism. So I'd encourage you to donate to them if you can. The link is below. There's also a couple other charities that I've mentioned before on the channel. And now I have something that you might really be interested. It's going to be something that will be interesting to go over on the channel that'll help in my studies of the Bible, Hebrew. So I'll share that in just a minute. So I didn't want to mention anything about it because I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. But, you know that there's been a lot of things going wrong recently for me. We've had the fridge break down. We had to get a new fridge. We've had chickens die. I shared that one video in one of my shorts where my white picket fence, where our stupid cow, our steer, he poked out a bunch of the pickets, and now we have to put that all back together. We've had our car AC go out, which we absolutely had to fix because it's a really hot summer. We've just had all the family things going on and just other things breaking. Oh yeah, the crawl space beneath our house. There's a leak down there, and with crawl space leaks, you have to work on that right away because otherwise mold or mildew could form. Also, eventually it'll make it so that it can ruin the foundation of the house and your house can start to crack and stuff like that. And there's just been all these other things. I'm not going to list them all, but basically ever since General Conference, things have just been really bad. And I feel like I've been really, really tested, I've experienced a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. And to top it off, it felt like this was the cherry on top. A couple days ago, I don't know if it was a week. It feels like it's started on Friday of last week. Okay, so a little less than a week. Jenica, as soon as things kind of felt like they were turning around and things were kind of actually getting in order. Oh, by the way, one last thing. If you saw that video where I got those 3 new pullets, or they're hens that haven't started laying yet, it's called a pullet. Yeah, one of them was eaten by a raccoon. We thought that there's the tiniest of little spaces in our chicken coop where a raccoon was able to grab it and pull it out and eat it. And so now we have our pullets in our garage back in the workshop, which is completely enclosed. Nothing can get in there. We're gonna wait till they get a little bit bigger so that can't happen again, and we're gonna try and fix that gap as well. Anyway, so last week Jenica was starting to have a pain, and I'm not going to get into all the details, but basically having some feminine issues. And we were doing some research, and what was going on was very abnormal, and it was really concerning because basically the only thing that seemed to fit would be ovarian cancer. And so we went to the doctor, and they were like, oh yeah, this does not look good. They got some labs done. Unfortunately, here in town, we have a nice little medical facility, but all they could do is a CT scan. So they did that, couldn't see anything. They said that ultrasound would be better anyway. We went to the emergency room because it seemed like a very serious thing, and that's what was recommended on WebMD, have those symptoms, go to the emergency room. So we did. Uh, we went ahead and did a CT scan. It didn't show anything, but basically it would come down to lab work and if the doctor deemed necessary to go and get an ultrasound. And so we did that. And to make a long story short, they were like, yeah, we need to do like some more tests and we're going to put in for an ultrasound. Well, we kind of had to get that done right away for insurance purposes. And so we went to another emergency room in Wichita. And just things were not seeming really good. Some of the labs came back earlier that day, and they didn't seem too good. It wasn't really making a whole lot of sense, but the nurse, that wasn't the regular nurse, she was like, oh yeah, this is kind of high, and we need to get some more. So we didn't really understand very well what was going on, and it wasn't explained too well either. So that's what caused us to kind of panic and go to Wichita and get an ultrasound. And so we went to the emergency room. We were there forever, of course, which I don't blame anybody for that. And then we went in and had an ultrasound done, and I was in there with Jenica, and we were just like both feeling like really heavy in our hearts because, you know, it felt pretty certain that there was probably going to be, what is it, a cyst, a tumor? Are those like the same? Those are two different things.
Yeah, they're two different things. But I was certain I was certain it was cancer.
Well, whatever. So, um, one of those two things were going to show up if it was cancer. And the worker, the ultrasound worker, she was like just going around, like doing all these different pictures, because like they have the ultrasound machine, which um, I can't tell ever what's going on that screen. I'll learn Hebrew and Russian and Chinese before I understand what's happening during an ultrasound. I don't understand how anyone can interpret uh, the readout on the screen. But she was going around and doing all the different angles and stuff, and it was
Focusing on one main spot.
oh she was focusing on one main spot. Jenica's over there helping me fill in the story, and I was like kind of like watching, and she was taking all these screenshots of all these different angles, and like as ultrasound people do, technicians do, they like label things, and it just felt like there was a lot of angles, a lot of screenshots, a lot of labeling going on. And this was seriously like my darkest hour because we had already been talking about the potential of her passing away because ovarian cancer is bad when it comes to cancers, relatively speaking. It's one of the most deadly. And I felt like that's what was going to happen. And as I was watching the ultrasound technician work, it felt like, yep, that's like the moment that I accepted that Jenica was gonna pass away, and I was just full of just like fear. I've been really working lately on anger, as you know, so I I made sure, to really put that to practice and try and be flexible and accept God's will. And I did. I did. I was not upset at God. I know that there's people that will get upset at God in that situation. Very tempting. How could you do this to me? Because if she died, it would be the end of me. It would be the end of me. I don't even understand how anybody could, how someone could lose a spouse and then and then move forward in life. I don't know if you've gone through that. I'm really sorry because that's horrible, and I'm sorry that happened to you. And yeah, I was like all but certain that yep, they found something. The ultrasound technician couldn't tell us, she gave it to the doctor and that was the person that was going to tell us. And so we went out to the waiting room. We were out there for a long time. I don't know if it was like a busy night or not. There were like empty seats. It wasn't completely full, but there was a good number of people there. Probably like 70% of the seats in the emergency waiting room were filled. So I don't know. It's pretty busy, I guess. And we're just sitting there, and just like going through all these just like a billion different scenarios. You know, I basically lived like a several lifetimes worth of scenarios. If you put them all together, it would have filled up just forever. My mind was just racing, and I was working really hard just to let the any stress or anger just turn into sadness, and then just accept reality. And it was super hard. I never, there's only maybe a couple times in my life where I felt like similar, but nothing like this. The stakes were so high. Uh, Never encountered anything like this. So, after waiting for a long time and just like having all these thoughts, uh, finally the doctor came, brought us back, and said that nothing was wrong. Gosh. And it was just like such a pressure taken off my chest. Like it felt like physically just like an actual load had been taken off. And she explained something that probably was going on, you know. And so she didn't have cancer, but like for all intents and purposes, we really thought that she was. Not just off of our own research, but the way that the people here in town were talking about it. It just did not sound good at all. And oh gosh. So, but like something really, really good came out of it. A few good things. Obviously, a renewed appreciation for normalcy. You know, just having Jenica with us and everything continuing like normal. Because it doesn't happen that way for a lot of people. Some people actually have to go through that. And again, if that's happened to you, then I'm sorry. So I feel like I now can much better empathize with anyone that has lost a loved one, because I've never lost anyone in my family except for my dad, but like I've never lost a wife or children, which for me would be a lot harder. No disrespect to my dad, but and I don't know, I that could serve me in the future, you know, either before the second coming or after the second coming, because when the second coming happens, people are going to lose loved ones. You know, the only people that are going to be left over afterwards are those that remain, and they're going to have loved ones. I'm sure that all of us, and I'm assuming that I'm going to make it. I hope that I do, but they're all going to have people that died, and I don't know what's going to happen with me, obviously, but the way I hope and the way I picture it is that me and at least my immediate family will move into the millennium. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think, like I've said many times before, I think there's going to be people that move on without spouses, without children, without parents, without friends and family and loved ones. So, in addition, all these things that have happened, I feel like Holy Father's really given me the opportunity to like practice this. And it has been good practice, and I hope it's over now, or at least things can kind of like calm down. Like, can I have like a little bit of a break? We'll see what happens, but things actually seem kind of like better than they have been. So, uh, with that said, let me share this book from Israel 365. This is written by Rabbi Akiva Gersh, edited by Elie Michel. If you go to my special guest playlist, he's the one that I interviewed a little while back. You might remember. By the way, he's a rabbi as well, Rabbi Elie Michel. Don't confuse him with Rabbi Gerfine. He's someone else. He's the content manager for Israel 365. And I'm really happy about this like little partnership that I have to be able to promote some of their stuff, but also they give a lot back to me, including the interviews and that very first interview that I did with Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz. They actually put it on Israel 365. I have no idea how many people have seen it, but it's really cool that I actually got on Israel 365. But anyway, they sent me this book right here. 75 Hebrew Words by Rabbi Akiva Gersh, edited by Rabbi Elie Michel. And it's really cool. I'm really glad that they sent me this. It's 75 Hebrew words you need to understand the Bible. That's the title of it. And it's really cool because at the very beginning, it has the Hebrew alphabet, which is really nice for me because up until now, I've just like pulled it up on the computer, but sometimes that's not the most convenient thing to do. And there's something about just having a physical copy of something to look at that just makes the experience different. This is going to be super helpful though. Anyway, I wanted to read just a little bit from this one. This is number 15, desire, ratzon, or with them, the R is pronounced like in the back of the like ratzon, ratzon. And this is what it says. So this is for desire. This like fits into what I was just talking about, and this whole idea of your will, your desires, your plans, your idealized course in life. It says in Hebrew, ratzon means both desire and will. As servants of God, we must do our best to make our actions desirable before God. We are also instructed to ensure our prayers are acceptable to God, as King David says in Psalms 19:15, "May the words of my mouth and the prayer of my heart be desirable to you, God, my rock and my redeemer." This verse recited at the end of many. This verse is recited at the end of many Jewish prayers as a request that our prayers be deemed fitting and acceptable before God. That makes me kind of think about, this is a concept in our own church and religion that, you shouldn't pray for those things that you shouldn't pray for, the things that you ought not. It probably shouldn't be so much focused on worldly things or advancing your own selfish desires. That's something that President Nelson talked about recently when it comes to prayer. Not to say that you can't ask for help with getting through school, making it through the next month with bills and stuff like that, but it probably wouldn't be appropriate to be like, okay, God, now I need you to do this, and now I need you to do this. This is my next goal, part of my master plan. All right, continuing, it says, this, the sages teach, do his will as though it were your will. And that is where I feel like your life can go so much smoother. Not smooth, not without pain and testing, but smoother if you try to do his will and submit to what he'll inflict upon you. You know, just like it says in the scriptures, as a child, be as a child and accept what your parents, you know, ask you to do, inflict upon you, see fit to put you through. There's more here. I'm not going to read the whole thing though. But it has like these two scriptures. The one that I just read, Psalms 19:15, and then Isaiah 56:7, which the way that they translate it here is, I will bring them to my sacred mount and let them rejoice in my house of prayer. So this is obviously referring to the temple. Their burnt offerings and sacrifices shall be desirable. There's the word. Sacrifices shall be desirable on my altar, for my house shall be called a house of prayer for all peoples. So, it has this idea of, like, again, submitting yourself to his will, submitting your will to his will. The way that that reads in the King James Version, let me just pull that up. Give me a second. I know the screen just went black. I have to pull this up. Okay, here we go. So this is talking about strangers joining the house of Israel from our point of view. It says, also the son of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord to serve him and to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it and taking hold of my covenant. Even them will I bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house, or joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted. So accepted, that's where in the original Hebrew it would be latson, and the way that they say it here in the book is it's desirable. I feel like it all works, like this translation is pretty good too, accepted, but just the deeper meaning just being like your will being submitted to God's will, right? So upon my altar, for mine house shall be called an house of prayer for all people. Okay. So it's really cool. So as usual, like other YouTube channels that you've seen, they have a code where you can get a discount on this if you'd like to buy it. I'm going to leave a link in the description below where you can purchase this, and the code will give you $10 off. The code is Christian, just regular spelling, just Christian. And I don't know if it needs to be all caps, but that's how he put it in the email. So just be safe. Do all caps, all capital letters, Christian, and then you can just get this directly through. It's through the Israel 365 website, and I will be sharing things from this from time to time, just little snippets. It's really cool. There's Messiah, man, love. It even has, I thought I saw in here somewhere, it had chesed, which is it's that Hebrew word that President Nelson was talking about in it was in one of the Liahona articles. So it has a little thing in there about chesed. So anyway, you know, I hope that this encourages you in some way just to be more flexible, more accepting of God's will, not being so set on our own goals and priorities, not idealizing life, because if you've been alive for more than just a little while, you know that usually it doesn't go your way. From the small things to the large things, whether it's driving in traffic or whether it comes to your family and if they're going to live. Just accept reality, accept that it's God's will, and that there's something free that you can, some reason why he's allowing that to happen to you. I guess one last thought that I'd like to share is like this is something I thought as I was almost sure that this was going to be ovarian cancer, is that I'm sure that the Lord allows bad things to happen to people, to good people, for many different reasons. For one, we're all going through a testing period. But number two, say a good person does have ovarian cancer and they pass away, right? Well, somebody else, and they handle it well. They don't turn against God. They accept his will. They don't lose their faith, their testimony. They don't start acting badly. Compare that to someone that maybe does, that they do suddenly get angry at God. Well, after this life, whenever it's judgment time, I feel like it's a lot more powerful when God is having a conversation, the Lord, is having a conversation with that person that lost their testimony, that became angry at God, that fell away from the church, and could say, look, this happened to this person, this happened to this person, it happened to all these people. They didn't get angry at me. They had their lives straight. Their hearts were pure. They really worked at their testimonies, and when the time came, they passed that test. So you can't use it you can't use the excuse like this was just too difficult because I've inflicted the same exact thing on other people. So anyway, after the hospital, we had a little celebration, went to Taco Bell, got there just in time. It was just before midnight. Huh? Yeah, it was 11:55. And it was such a cathartic experience. Let me make sure I'm using that word right. Cathartic. Yeah, providing psychological relief through the open expression of strong emotions, causing catharsis. Yes, I experienced catharsis after that. And I still feel it now. We got home. I slept so good. It just and like all these other things have been weighing me down. It just feels like they're nothing now. It really does. And actually a lot of things have gotten better. So there's not as much working against me now. But even if I did still have that whole plate of horribleness, it's nothing compared to what we were facing. I just feel so much better right now. Okay, well, that's going to be it for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.